and welcome. Today we have a little bit of a bittersweet debate, which is the shutting down on next January of Anthem. EA is finally pulling the plug on Anthem permanently without offline mode. Um, to the ones that never played Anthem, now is your chance because it's going to be gone forever. I don't see other people creating servers to try and salvage the game, mostly because the programming language is horrendously difficult. But there is a few other reasons for it. The community isn't that large to start with. The community is actually pretty small right now. We have less than 100 people, a lot less than 100 people online per day. I'm no longer not even a participant of that community because I saw where this was going about a year or so ago. I knew that EA was going to pull the plug because of coming projects and because they want to really build up momentum for Mass Effect 5. They have it in their minds that in order to do so, they need to get rid of everything that failed. That is, all of the previous Mass Effects of multiplayer and Mass Effect Andromeda support. Andromeda will still be playable offline, but its multiplayer server is going to be shut down. This is really bittersweet, and this is essentially EA being EA. Let me remind you what happened to Star Wars Galaxies, SWG. And that's why this video is called Reflecting on Galaxies. So, Star Wars The Old Republic was about to launch, and they announced a month before that SWG was going to shut down. They didn't warn us like they did right now with Anthem, concerning a lot of months prior. They did it 1 month before the shutdown, and people were flabbergasted. They were furious because the game was alive. It was the community was very much a participant on everything. Even the devs were surprised because they were launching content up until the day before the shutdown. The day of the shutdown, they were stopped at the entrance of the building by the security officers, and they weren't ever allowed in again. They were fired on the spot by EA and by Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm, by the way, back then was already being acquired by Disney. So Disney wanted to get rid of LucasArts and Lucasfilm's video games. So this was their way. They wanted to start fresh with Star Wars The Old Republic, and they did. The game was great, but it lacked the magic that game had. It lacked the community, the sense of community that it had. We had entire cities built by players, sometimes hundreds of buildings wide. And it was really painful to see it all gone. And it wasn't in a moment, but SWG had a sort of offline mode that when the server started to not respond to pings, was shut down for maintenance. And if you were in game, you could still be in game for a few minutes. You'd get a small message in red with a timer concerning the ping of the server being really high, warning you that impending shutdown was imminent. But that could last over 5 minutes. I was there. I reinstalled the game. I was there up until the last moment. I was there with the community of players that I knew for over 5 years. I was there in the launch of the game. I was there during the all of the main events of the game. CU, the combat upgrade, and then the NGE, new game updates, new game advances, or some crap like that. New game enhancements, which was a fiasco, by the way, and it killed almost the community. We had 3 million players, and overnight we had less than 700. Why? Because they got it through their minds that the NGE was great. The community did recover a little bit. We weren't in the millions ever again. We were in the thousands, and sometimes tens of thousands. So the game did recover a little bit. As I said, I was there in the end. And all the guilds made their final goodbyes the way they thought it was fun. A lot of them chose to go down fighting on extremely hard instances until the last moment, killing the final boss, and then the server shut down before they could finish. Or they did it like us on my guild. I'm not going to say the name of the guild, that is even more painful. But we had a sense of community that few others had. When we were there, that game was, well, so old that it didn't have voice chat, embedded voice chat. At the end it had, but it rarely worked correctly. But we had to install other programs so we could talk to each other. And we did. I did. And it was fun. I mean, we organized a party in the middle of our city on the central square where all available players would join. And we were there dancing, laughing, and whatnot. And then midnight came. And one by one I saw them disappearing. One by one I saw them disappear, and it was forever. Those characters were gone. The people weren't, but a lot of them stopped playing video games. They moved on. Well, moved to other things. Some of them got married, other ones got kids, and they simply quit. They didn't want to join another game to be disappointed the way that they were. And at the flicker of a switch, an entire community was silenced, was over. Sure, I've met a lot of people from SWG over on Star Wars The Old Republic. It wasn't the same. People were always 1 foot behind. They didn't want to engage all that deeply because they were afraid of losing again. And EA really is to blame. EA is a bunch of shareholders that don't play video games. They don't care the harm they do to communities because they don't understand the concept. And Star Wars Galaxies was recovered during somewhat recovered by private entrepreneurs that built servers in order to recover the game, and they did. I knew two very large servers, one pre-NGE without those game enhancements, and another one with the game enhancements, so run by the same people. And it was fun, but a lot of my guys, the guys that were with me on the guild, weren't there, so it was not the same thing. I was there for 3 years, and then I found myself on the place where our city was located, our original city was located. And there was nothing there. It was extremely mentally painful. It was as if I had lost a pet or a family member. It was painful. It was depressing as all hell. And I decided then that it was time to go, to leave the game forever. And so I did. I set down my house on the exact same spot because we had the coordinates. Exact same spot that I had my houses on. Declared that place a city because I had the 5 million required to do that. Decorated all my houses. The ones that weren't decorated, that I didn't save the decorations. And I went to my guild and I said, look, I'm leaving forever. So my houses are going to be here. I'm going to leave an escrow of payment for the houses for over 10 years because I had the millions to do that. And I'm never setting foot on this game again. And one of the guys that were there was actually one of the proprietors of the server, and he asked me, "Why, man? Why are you quitting? We're just getting started. We have more things in the launch bay. We're going to have PvP returning in force. We're going to have more planets in the game." And I said, not the same thing. It was not the same thing as the original one. Not the same people, not the same community, not the same voices, not the same presence. A lot of people are going to say, oh, you're being overly dramatic. You try and blast your Facebook or your Instagram or whatever community you belong, blast it into a million smithereens and not get depressed. Because I still am. The other day I found the discs, the floppy disks, that Star Wars Galaxies were on. They were damaged beyond repair. They had a lot of, it wasn't. They weren't. I don't even have a way to read those floppy disks on this computer. So I kept them. They're still there. A lot of people would say you should throw them out. be done with it. I am done with it. I just like the box. It was 6 years of my life. A lot of friends. A lot of adventures in a world that didn't exist. And that was fine by me. Would I do it all over again? In a heartbeat. Immediately. Is it healthy? I don't care. I don't. And this is what they're about to do with Anthem. Sure, it has less people than Star Wars Galaxies. Sure, the game was a bust from the beginning. But it's people. It's their hopes, their economies, their dreams, their community, their friends. They're going to be gone. And sometimes the community in video games is more true or more truthful than communities in real life. Because we're in a fantasy world. We can be whatever we want to be. And there it worked. Tremendously. You had to have a character that was a traitor to make money. You had to have a character that dealt with danger, Jedi, bounty hunter, soldier, whatever. And we had to have a crafter, someone that craft stuff. That being weapons, armor, whatever. Even house decorations, or even houses. Yeah, well, you could become a trader of houses. I was a trader of houses. I had 7 vendors filled to the brim with houses. And you know what? I was a trillionaire. I had billions and billions of credits. That's why my houses are still there. I actually got in touch before this video with a friend of mine that still plays that game. And he said, your houses are still there. That's why we rarely go there. To that planet, to Locke. To the planet Locke. We rarely go there. Specifically to that zone of the planet. Because when we go there, people that knew you either get really down or they even cry because they miss you. They miss your presence. And this is what EA is doing again. Killing a community because they want to make a buck. Until we fight back, this is going to continue. And the only way to fight back is to hit them in the only language that they know. Money. It's not power, it's money. If we all stood together and asked for the hundreds of millions of dollars we invested on Star Wars Galaxies back then, we would have run EA to the ground. If people start asking their money back because the game is going to be shut down and they're going to be left with a box with a disc that doesn't work and ask for the money back to EA, or in this case BioWare, which is EA, they're never going to stop doing this. And there will be hell to pay before they launch another game that can generate a community. They're going to think 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 times, 30 times before they create that game, and before they launch that game, they're going to be extremely careful that the game doesn't fail. Something that did not happen with Anthem or Mass Effect Andromeda. They just launched it and ran with it. They failed, both of them, because of the same reason one to the other. They got rushed. They weren't ready to be launched at all. Anthem should have been in development for 5 years. It should have been launched now, not 5 years ago. They had 1 year and a half of development when the game was launched. 1 year and a half. Can you imagine that? A video game with the amplitude and the hype that Anthem had being launched after 18 months of programming, of setup, of configurations, and testing, which it wasn't tested, by the way. Andromeda, Mass Effect Andromeda, was tested because it had about 2 years of development, so they had a few months to test the game. The other one, not so much. So, what to say on this? Do we have the manpower to run such a campaign of asking the money back to EA concerning Anthem? Not even close. Perhaps when the game was launched, if we all banded together as a community and did that, yes, we would have been enough to run EA to the ground. But we weren't a community back then. The game was just launching. A lot of us quit the game immediately because we felt robbed. I didn't quit the game immediately, but I was really put down by the game. Let me just emphasize on this. I was extremely disappointed with the game because I wanted to play the game, and for a week the server was in maintenance at the time that I was at home because I worked. So guys, let's analyze this. SWG was shut down, and there was no need for the game to be shut down. People would have gone to Star Wars The Old Republic in a heartbeat. I went. Still am. I'm still on Star Wars The Old Republic. But the magic is not there. And the magic was the community, was the people. Something EA doesn't understand. It's the people that makes the games into successful ventures. Not the game itself, not the devs. That's why they don't understand this, and they fire everyone when something fails. They have to blame someone. They can't blame us. They don't understand us. They don't understand that we are here. That we are the players. They don't give a crap about that. They care about the money, the big dollars. And here's the result, another shutdown. So guys, my final reflection is this. If any of you are still playing SWG on the pirated servers, I'm going to call them the recovered servers. Go forward. Experience that game. That game is magical. Nothing was launched since that has that kind of magic that can bring a community together. Nothing. Not even WoW. Not even World of Warcraft. So, my final reflection is this. Play the games as if it's the last day that the game exists, because you never know. But don't let yourself go down without a fight. Don't forsake something you love because the fight is hard. Organize. Be a community. Engage with the community. And you'll get there. So, until the next video, play on, stay safe, and stay together.